Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. You know we do these just for you Vintage Car Chronicles listeners. Whether you're on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, or YouTube, buckle up. Today is all about the Oldsmobile Toronado.
Yeah, a real game changer.
No doubt. We've dug up all sorts of stuff. Historical overviews, tech specs, you name it, even some cool anecdotes.
Oh yeah, some real gems in there.
So we're going to try to answer a few key questions, like what made this car such a legend?
And how did it evolve over the years?
Exactly. Why is it still such a fascinating car for enthusiasts today?
A lot to unpack.
Let's rewind the clock back to 1966, the year the Toronado hit the scene. It was the muscle car era.
Oh, absolutely. Power and performance were king.
And then Oldsmobile drops this bomb, a front-wheel drive car.
And not just any front-wheel drive.
Yeah, the first American car with front-wheel drive since, the Court 810 in the 30s?
Yeah, pretty wild, right? I mean, imagine the audacity.
Oldsmobile must have had some serious guts to go against the grain like that.
They did. And they had the engineering to back it up. I mean, think about it. Shoving a massive 425 cubic inch V8 engine
Whoa, that's a beast.
into a standard engine bay, along with the transmission.
Yeah, how'd they even do that?
They had to get creative, you know? They came up with this whole new system,
Oh yeah, what was it called?
the Unitized Power Package, or UPP for short.
The UPP. That must have been quite the engineering feat.
It was a pretty ingenious solution to a tough packaging problem.
So they were challenging norms right from the start.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about what was under the hood. The Tornado's design was totally radical for its time.
Oh yeah, it looked like nothing else on the road.
Sharp, edgy lines, those cool hideaway headlights,
I love those.
integrated bumpers too. Even the 15-inch wheels were unique.
It was like they were screaming, "Look at me, I'm different."
They definitely wanted to stand out from the crowd.
Now, I can picture the typical 60s car interior, lots of chrome, big bench seats.
Right, pretty standard stuff.
Was the Tornado's interior just as wild?
Oh, even more so. They ditched the usual dashboard layout and went with these cool rocker switches.
Rocker switches, like what you'd see on an airplane.
Exactly. And get this, a drum speedometer.
Oh, that's different.
Plus, they had this really cool driver-focused instrument cluster they called the driver podium.
So you felt like you were piloting a spaceship.
Exactly. It was all about putting the driver in command.
That's so cool. But here's the thing that blows my mind. With all that power and tech, this car could seat 6 people comfortably.
Yeah, not your typical coupe setup.
A spacious coupe.
Yeah.
That's almost unheard of.
It was a big selling point for Oldsmobile. Families could enjoy the sporty look and feel without sacrificing comfort. And that flat floor, made possible by the front-wheel drive, really opened up the cabin.
It's like they were redefining what a coupe could be.
Yeah, breaking down those traditional boundaries.
Now, as we roll into the 1970s, the Toronado starts to shift gears a little bit, right?
It does. It kind of matures, moving away from pure performance and more towards luxury.
A bit more refined, huh?
Yeah, think of it like this. It went from being a brash young athlete to a sophisticated gentleman.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
But what prompted this shift?
Well, a couple of things. The muscle car craze was starting to fade.
Right, tastes were changing.
And then there was the Cadillac Eldorado.
The Eldorado, Cadillac's answer to the Toronado.
Yep. It also had front-wheel drive, and it was positioned as a luxury car, so the Toronado wasn't the lone pioneer anymore.
A little friendly competition never hurts.
It pushes everyone to be better. Speaking of competition, before we move on, I just got to mention those smoky front-wheel burnouts the Toronado was famous for.
Oh yeah, I've seen videos, pure insanity.
Picture this. A big, powerful car suddenly laying rubber from the front wheels.
I bet people's jaws dropped when they saw that for the first time.
It was a sight to behold. Pure muscle, delivered in a way no one expected.
Talk about challenging expectations.
So back to that luxury evolution. What were some of the signs that the Toronado was heading in that direction?
Well, for starters, safety features started becoming a big priority, like those high-mounted taillights.
Yeah, way ahead of their time. Almost like a prototype for the third brake lights we see today.
And get this, they were experimenting with airbags back then.
Early airbags, yeah, in 74 to 76.
They were already thinking about safety in ways that most other automakers weren't.
Yeah, they were real pioneers.
It wasn't just about safety, right? Didn't they also introduce a fuel economy gauge?
They did, back in 1974.
Wow, that's pretty revolutionary for that time. I mean, this was the era of big, powerful cars.
Right. But even then, there was a growing awareness of fuel consumption and, I guess, a need to promote efficient driving.
Yeah, like a little reminder on your dashboard that even a beast like the Toronado had to adapt to a changing world.
Exactly. Welcome back, everyone. When we left off, the Toronado had just gone through some big changes. Downsizing, some interesting new features.
Oh yeah, and that diesel engine.
Right, the diesel. Well, now we're stepping into the 1980s, a whole new decade for the Toronado, and for the auto industry as a whole.
So 1986. What does the Toronado look like now?
It's pretty sleek, compact, almost futuristic looking, really. Gone are those sharp angles, the massiveness of those earlier models.
So it's a totally new vibe.
Totally. This Tornado's all about smooth curves, a more modern aerodynamic look.
It's like it traded in its muscle car persona for something a bit more refined.
Exactly, more sophisticated. But there is one design element that makes a comeback.
Oh, let me guess. Those hidden headlights.
You got it. Those pop-up headlights just scream 80s cool.
And it's kind of a cool nod back to that first generation Toronado, right?
Yeah, a little bit of retro flair. But the real transformation was happening inside.
Oh, what was going on in the interior?
Well, Oldsmobile went all in on technology, no more analog gauges. It was all digital instrument panels now.
Wow, so high-tech.
High tech. And get this, there was an optional voice alert system. Like the car would actually talk to you.
A talking car.
Hey, Caesar.
In 1986, what would it say?
Oh, helpful things. Please fasten your seatbelt. Fuel level is low, that sort of thing.
That must have been pretty mind-blowing back then.
Imagine. Like you were driving a car straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's almost standard now, but back then.
It was cutting edge. But, it wasn't just about futuristic tech. They still wanted to maintain that luxurious feel.
Of course, comfort is key.
Right. So you had your choice of plush cloth, or if you wanted to go all out, supple leather upholstery.
So it was a mix of high-tech and classic luxury.
That's a great way to put it. Trying to appeal to a new generation of drivers without alienating their loyal fan base.
It's a tough balance to strike.
What about the engine?
Still those big V8s.
Nope, those massive V8s were gone. The fourth generation Toronado had a 3.8-liter Buick V6.
Okay, so a smaller engine. But I'm guessing it was still pretty peppy.
Oh yeah, plenty of power for everyday driving. And remember, fuel efficiency was becoming a big concern.
True. Smaller engines sipped less gas. But even with all these changes, the new look, the tech, the focus on efficiency, did it all work? How's the Toronado doing in the market?
Well, sales were, how do I put it? A bit sluggish. It was a tough sell. You see, the Toronado was priced a bit higher than other less luxurious compacts from GM.
I see, so it was in a tricky spot.
Yeah, and some folks thought it looked a little too similar to some other Oldsmobile and Buick models.
Like the Oldsmobile Calais.
Yeah, or the Buick Somerset. So it kind of lost that unique identity it once had.
It needed something to set it apart again. Got back that Toronado magic.
They needed to recapture that excitement, and Oldsmobile, they heard that. So in 1987, they introduced a sportier model, the Toronado Trofeo.
Ah, the Trofeo. I remember seeing those. They definitely had a sportier look.
Yeah, they were trying to inject some fun back into the Toronado, leather bucket seats,
Nice.
a more aggressively tuned suspension, better handling, even faux dual exhaust tips to give it that sporty vibe.
So it was like a wolf in sheep's clothing. A luxurious coupe, but with this hidden sporty side.
You got it. And they even tweaked the styling. Monochromatic paint schemes, new wheel designs, all to emphasize that sporty character.
Did it work? Did the Trofeo help boost sales?
It helped a little bit, but it wasn't a runaway success or anything. But, Oldsmobile kept innovating, trying new things, pushing the boundaries of what the Toronado could be.
Always pushing forward. That seems to be the theme here.
It is. And this brings us to one of the most interesting chapters in the Toronado story. The Visual Information Center.
The Visual Information Center.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty high-tech.
Oh, it was. Picture this. It's 1989, and Oldsmobile introduces a dash-mounted touchscreen.
A touchscreen back in '89.
You heard that right. A CRT touchscreen, and it controlled everything. Climate control, the radio, even the trip computer. They called it the VIC for short.
The VIC. That's amazing. Most cars today are just catching up to that kind of technology.
It was truly revolutionary, like having a futuristic command center right there in your car.
Yeah, way ahead of its time. I guess they really were committed to making the Toronado a cutting-edge luxury experience.
That was the goal. And on top of that, the Trofeo got standard anti-lock brakes that year and a new steering wheel with integrated controls for the radio and climate control.
Okay, so they were really packing in the features.
Yeah, but things change again in 1990. The Toronado got another big redesign.
The redesign. So soon.
They were constantly evolving the car. This time they completely overhauled the body, given a sleeker, more modern look. And it got bigger too. Longer, more trunk space.
So bigger, sleeker, and I'm guessing safer too.
Yeah. A driver's side airbag became standard that year.
So they were listening to customer feedback.
They were always trying to improve. And then in 1991, they bumped up the horsepower a bit and made both remote keyless entry and anti-lock brakes standard across all Toronado models.
More power, more convenience, and even safer. It sounds like they had a winner on their hands.
It seems that way, right? But then 1992 rolls around and something truly unexpected happens.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happened?
Well, remember that high-tech touchscreen system from '89, the VIC?
The one that was so ahead of its time, yeah.
Well, in 1992, General Motors teamed up with Avis Rent-A-Car to pilot test a GPS navigation system in select rental Toronado Trofeos. The ones equipped with the touchscreen, of course.
Wait, are we talking about GPS navigation in 1992?
You heard right. They called it TravTech, and it was, well, groundbreaking for its time. It had a built-in cellular phone, a voice guidance system, the whole shebang.
That is incredible. It's like they had a time machine and peeked into the future of car navigation.
They were true visionaries. The system was even monitored by AAA. They had an antenna mounted on the trunk of the car.
Wow, so it was a pretty sophisticated setup. But here's the million-dollar question. If the Toronado was so innovative, why didn't it last? Why did it fade away?
That's a great question. It's kind of a mystery, honestly. Despite all its advancements, it just never really caught on with buyers the way Oldsmobile had hoped. And sadly, 1992 marked the end of an era. The last Toronado rolled off the assembly line in May of that year.
The end of an era. It's kind of bittersweet, you know?
Yeah.
A car that was always pushing boundaries, always trying new things.
But, even though the Toronado is gone, it left behind a legacy of innovation that still resonates today.
Absolutely. The Toronado helped pave the way for front-wheel drive to become mainstream in American cars. It showed that luxury and technological advancement could go hand in hand.
It definitely challenged the status quo.
Now, before we wrap things up, I have to ask about those, well, more unusual Toronado variants, like the AQC Jetway 707 limousine and the Canadian Expo 67X custom car. Those sound pretty wild.
There's something else, the Jetway 707. It was like a limousine from another planet, a massive six-wheeled behemoth over 28 feet long.
Wow, that's longer than some RVs.
And the interior, it was like something out of a private jet, leather seats, a bar, you name it.
Traveling in style, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And those 67X cars, they were custom-built Tornados, just 4 of them, created specifically for Canada's Expo 67, swiveling seats, a sofa.
In a car?
A sofa and a refrigerator, too. They really pulled out all the stops for those cars.
A refrigerator. That's incredible. I wonder if any of them still exist today. It would be so cool to see one in person.
That's a great question. And it actually leads us perfectly into our next topic. Because you see, even though the Tornado's production run ended in '92, its spirit of innovation didn't die there. In fact, it lived on in a car that emerged a few years later.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What car are we talking about?
Well, for that answer, you'll have to join us for the final part of our deep dive.
All right, so we've traced the Tornado's journey, front-wheel drive in the muscle car era, those tech-filled years in the 80s.
A lot of innovation packed into those years.
Right. But you mentioned a successor, a car that kept that Toronado spirit alive after it was gone. What was it?
Time to reveal the heir to the throne. The Oldsmobile Aurora. It debuted in '95, and it wasn't just a replacement. It was a total reinvention of the luxury sports sedan.
The Aurora. I remember seeing those on the road back in the day. Sleek, sophisticated, a far cry from the Tornado's coupe style.
Yeah, a whole new direction. The Aurora showed that Oldsmobile was ready for a fresh start, built on a brand new platform, shared with the last generation Buick Riviera. And the design all about smooth curves, understated elegance.
Yeah, a big departure from that kind of boxy 80s look.
Right. More aerodynamic, modern. A sign of the times, for sure.
So what was under the hood? Did they stick with the V6?
Nope, they went all out. The Aurora came with a brand new engine, a 4.0-liter V8.
A V8, so they brought back the big guns?
Did, but this is a modern V8, dual overhead camshafts, 32 valves, 250 horsepower. A real technological marvel. They called it the Aurora V8.
Wow, so they combined V8 power with cutting-edge tech.
Exactly. It was a statement. Oldsmobile was back in the luxury game.
I bet they were going after some serious competition with that engine.
Oh, yeah. They were aiming for the top. And you know what? People loved it.
Really?
Yeah. Car enthusiasts, critics, everyone was raving about the Aurora, the performance, the handling, that luxurious interior.
Sounds like they hit a home run.
They did. It even won Motor Trend's Car of the Year in 1995.
Just like the original Toronado back in '66.
History repeating itself.
So Oldsmobile found that magic formula again. Innovation, luxury, performance.
Yeah, they proved they could still build exciting cars.
It's just a shame that Oldsmobile itself didn't last long enough to see the Aurora reach its full potential.
It is a brand with such a rich history gone too soon. But at least the Aurora showed what they were capable of.
A fitting tribute.
Yeah, the Aurora represents everything the Toronado stood for. That forward-thinking design, the performance, the luxury.
A worthy successor. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. The Toronado's groundbreaking debut, the evolution, the ups and downs. It's really a reflection of American automotive history.
It is. The Toronado always dared to be different, and it left its mark.
Even though it's gone, its spirit lives on, especially in the Aurora.
Yeah, the Aurora carried the torch into a new millennium.
So next time you see a Toronado out on the road, remember the story behind it. The engineers who challenged conventions, the designers who pushed boundaries.
Remember that legacy of innovation? It's still inspiring us today.
Maybe you'll even spot an Aurora. A subtle reminder that the Toronado's spirit is still out there.
Still going strong.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Oldsmobile Toronado. We hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget, Vintage Car Chronicles has new episodes every single day, so be sure to tune in for more stories about the amazing cars that shaped automotive history.